Ladies and gentlemen, I have a special treat today. We have the one and only meme lord, RagstoRiches, joining us today. I got all dressed up for this. I'm a huge fan. Can't wait to chop it up. See you on the other side. You know, a lot of people have lives like I used to, where it's like, look, I've got to go to work and then I've got a bunch of family stuff after work. And if I'm lucky on the weekend, I get to like mow the lawn and listen to my favorite tunes.
Right.
But they don't really have time to learn a new language, to learn a new skill set, to learn new technology, unless they believe that the payoff is worth all that investment from what they're already doing.
Right. And that's also probably why, well, I know myself and probably you too. That's why we started our YouTube channels, to be able to compile all that knowledge, be able to put it in one place and talk to people about it. Hey, come here, come learn, just in your spare time. Opportunities now. So that's why did you start your YouTube channel?
That was really it. It was
Yeah.
like, how do I get this message out to as many people as quickly as possible? I have, and I still do, go to people's kitchen tables and sit down for several hours holding their hand through setting up an exchange, setting up a MetaMask, and then talking to them about a good stake laddering strategy and implementing it. I used to do that one-on-one. I still kind of do, but it was taking up all of my time.
Yeah.
It felt good, but I thought this is not effective. So now I have a weekly meeting at my local library for 2 hours. If you show up with your laptop, we're going to hold your hand through whatever you need to. And a lot of people in their 50s and 60s really appreciate that, because they're not going to follow a YouTube tutorial.
So tell me about that. How do you get people to show up? How do you market it at all, or what's that look like?
I just started collecting people's email addresses and phone numbers and putting them on an Excel spreadsheet like a professional. Actually, my wife does the Excel spreadsheet. I don't know how to do that, but she puts them all in there, and we just send out this massive email. We spam everybody, and I do a live Zoom call every Monday at 6 p.m. So tonight at 6 p.m. my time, Mountain Standard Time, I'm going to do a Zoom meeting, and the first 30 minutes are for newbies. So you get on, I'm going to give you a brief explanation of what Hex is, how it works, and that kind of stuff, answer really new questions. And then it's open fire. Like, anyone jump in, ask what you want. We're just going to try and handle it.
Raise your hand if he speaks for you.
How many people
I upload
do you think
that.
you talk to?
I think there's like 60 or 80 people on the email list. And then we send that also out for the Thursday night at the library thing.
How many of you actually talked to, just out of curiosity? Like how many have you sat down with?
Probably at least half of those.
Yeah.
So half of those are people I've sat down with personally, and then half of those are friends of friends or colleagues. Someone sees their money double, triple, quadruple, and all of a sudden they're like, hey, I got 4 guys at work that want to get in on this, and I can't explain it, so you explain it.
That's something, honestly, that I need to do more of. So I'll probably talk to you and get some pointers and things like that. So I think that's really cool that you're doing that.
Well, I think what you're doing is great. I saw some of your videos, right? Hex and Pulse. I'm turning it on. I'm in the shower with you talking to me in the shower, which is surprisingly comforting.
Well, and it makes me feel kind of warm right now, quite honestly. I know we're live, but it is what it is.
So I'm in the shower. My wife's getting ready, at the sink. And all of a sudden she goes, who is this? And I go, oh, he's this guy, RagstoRiches. She goes, I like him. I can understand what he's talking about. And he's talking about what I actually want to learn about. He's like addressing real information, where a lot of streams, including mine, we're talking about tacos, we're talking about sports, we're talking about whatever. And then we get around to like Pulsechain, price predictions, whatever, right? Staking ladders. But we've talked about that stuff so much that it's not like what we have to get to. But your videos are so well organized, where you say, look, I'm going to talk for 17 minutes about Pulse. And you speak in a way that is so hard for a hexican to speak.
Yeah.
Because I've been in this game for about 8 years now. And I totally forget 8 years ago what it was like to learn the term blockchain, to learn what a transaction was on a network like that. I totally forget that learning, that huge learning curve I went through because it was so long ago. And by onboarding and talking to new people, I'm like, oh, we need like a baby steps, digestible, spoon-fed, slow, patient onboard for the millions of people that are coming our way in crypto, not just Hex and Pulse, but crypto. Like they're all headed this way because they don't have, there's nowhere else for them to go. It's like someone holding out and being like, I'm not going to use email. It's like that worked for a while, but who the heck doesn't use email now?
Dude, you know what? Here's the thing. It's like when human beings get a camera in front of their face, they forget that they're doing this for other people and they start doing this for themselves. And you gotta have a self audit and you gotta be like, okay, why am I doing this? All right, now that I know why I'm doing this, now I have to spend a lot of time and energy focusing on what it used to be like to be those people that didn't know anything. And sometimes, you'll kind of sit there and you'll think about it and you're like, wow, I remember back then. And they were talking about even wallets and they were talking about Coinbase and they were talking about different types of crypto. I had no freaking clue, none. But it takes energy to really put yourself in that mindset. And I'm not very good at improving. So that's the reason that I use those Google slides, because I can just, before I do the video, I can just organize my thoughts and I give myself a script and I can present it in such a way that it sounds okay. So yeah, man, it's got to remember why you're doing it. Really got to, and to try to push your ego out as much as possible, as hard as that is. And that's also why I talk a bunch of shit to people on my comments and all that, because I don't want you here. One of the things that I learned early on, it doesn't matter what organization, if you don't want to be here, I don't want you to be here. So I make it very well known that I don't care if you're here or not. I don't care. If you don't want to be here, get the hell out. So that's helped check myself too.
Wow, those are two awesome gems right there. First of all, the organization and putting yourself in other people's shoes, and yeah, shaking people off the fence or getting rid of malcontents that are just there to.
Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
bottom line, what's going to happen what's going to happen when Hex price drops 55%? If you've been promising people Valhalla and heaven, what's going to happen? They're going to show up in your DMs. They're going to be pissed off and this and that. I'm like, listen, dude, I'm just like you. I'm a regular Joe. I'm not happy that it's doing this, but I've been around the game long enough to understand what happens next. And if you stick around my channel or you stick around X-Ray Vision's channel, you're going to find out what happens next too. It's going to be a really good thing. You win. So I'm trying to appeal to people on that level. I'm not better than you are. I'm just like you are. I just somehow I was always afraid to get in front of camera because I thought redheads do really bad, but apparently they do really good. I got the right shade. I got the right hue and tint. So it's worked out.
Yeah, it's definitely worked out. And like I've actually listened to your interview with Crypto Heartbeat and Crypto Panda.
Yeah.
Like 6 times.
Really?
Yeah, I've listened to it over and over, and I've said it to everyone in my circle.
Wow, man.
Because a lot of the things that were right on the tip of my brain, you guys were putting together and finishing my thoughts for me. Because I was thinking about a lot of the same game theory, a lot of the same scenarios, but it all sifts down to what you guys were coming up with on that video. The same things you guys were thinking and saying on that video were going through my head for months before I came across it.
Dude, it helps, and it helps have other people to bounce ideas off of, and you kind of start vibing, and then you get a little bit comfortable, and then you can start thinking. Once you're comfortable, you can actually start thinking, and you forget that other people are watching you. So that helps me out a lot personally. And you take risks. You take risks with your ideas. You throw your ideas out there. A lot of times people are afraid to do that, including myself. But you take a risk, you throw your idea out there, and it sticks, and it feels good. It's like, okay, it's time. I can speak for myself from now on. I don't have to regurgitate everything. So that it helps have folks to bounce ideas off of and talk to. Absolutely. And I'm very happy that you shared that with so many people. I think you could tell, man, we just had a blast doing it. And one of the points you made earlier, it wasn't like we had a plan going into it. We're not just going to, talk about, hot dogs and hot chicks and Mountain Dew and just dumb stuff, NASCAR. We're going to go on and we're going to talk about things that matter. We're going to have a game plan, and we're actually going to try to teach people some things. So I think that was very important for us too. So that's really good to get that feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. And then also a shout out to Crypto Heartbeat and Crypto Panda. My wife's also like, she's like, these are the people you need to share. These people speak English.
Yeah.
And you and your nerd friends don't speak English. She's like, you guys gotta bring it down, because we get so excited and ahead of ourselves.
Sure.
So that was part of the magic there in that group. And I hope you guys get together a lot more.
Yeah, we're actually, I'll let you know, we're going to have another one on Sunday. So back by popular demand. We'll see what we can drum up then. But yeah, Sunday evening, I believe. And yeah, dude, we'll get you on, man. Same type of thing, man. The thing about my channel too, and I'll tell all of your viewers or anybody that sees this, like, if you want to share screen time, let's freaking share screen time. This isn't my channel. This is all my followers' channel. I would not be here without followers. So anybody that ever wants to chop it up, we can chop it up.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, are you going to try to make it to Vegas in March and
God,
hang
man,
with the savages?
Everybody. All right. So I'm trying to be a productive member of society. And if I place myself in Las Vegas with those types of folks, non-production will occur. I will just tell you that right now. But a lot of people have been like, you going. If you guys buy me a ticket, that's the same answer. Whoever wants to buy me a ticket, I'm out there. I'm not buying the daggone ticket. I don't care about you.
No ticket.
Chill. I'll just stay in my bedroom and mouth breathe the whole weekend. How about that?
Did you catch my fire tweet today about the ticket?
What did you say?
I said, right now, the price of one conference ticket is the same as 2 failed transactions on Ethereum. So like, if you look at it that way, it's really affordable. I mean, you're going to get something out of it.
You're not the victim in this transaction.
That is
Ethereum
correct.
transactions.
That's a well thought out point. I will give you that, Max.
Thank you. And let me put this forward. I'm so upset right now about the ETH fees. Like, I literally wake up angry thinking about the onboarding problems that I'm having right now with people who have $500 to their name to invest.
Yeah.
And they're losing almost all of that trying to get into Hex, just trying to get into Ethereum and Uniswap it. Right.
Yeah. The frustrating thing is that the upgrades were made to this network to thwart potential problems in the future. Okay. The problems hadn't even shown up yet, but we're going to be punished by Vitalik by having to stomach these incredible fees, horrible fees. Now, the upside to all of this, there are a lot of upsides. One of the upsides is when Pulsechain does launch, all right, it's going to be very nice for people, obviously, to be able to get P-Hex and be able to be a part of the community on the Pulse side without these fees. The second thing that's going to be really nice about this is, and most people don't mention this, the Ethereum side, the load on Ethereum hypothetically should decrease. All right. So the onboarding there will be very good too. There's a lot of upset people right now in terms of Hex price. And I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but it's going to get a lot easier. There's going to be a whole lot less resistance in 6 months time frame than there is now. And I'm just begging people to just hang on. Just hang on. This type of thing is normal. And the amount of incredible news that we have coming up, you got to hold on for that. It's going to be worth it.
Just hang in there, baby. You're doing great.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when I onboard new people and we go through the barriers to entry that exist right now, I tell them, look, you're getting 20 to 50 cent hex right now. I mean, today you're getting, I think it was like 17 cents
Yeah.
or something crazy like that. It was really low. And I tell them, look, when it's as easy as downloading PayPal and hitting 2 buttons, the price is not going to be 20
No.
cents.
Thank you. That everything in life is a freaking sacrifice, man. And you can either choose to take that responsibility, put it on your shoulders, figure out how to do something and execute, or you can choose to fold. You know, the reality is it's difficult, but doing this type of thing right now is going to be worth it in the end. Absolutely. I love that.
You win. Perfect.
Yeah, I was day one hexican, so I remember watching it go up, watching it come down, and thinking, well, there it went, and then it goes back up higher, and it comes down, and you're like, oh, okay. And every time you go through one of the dips, they become a little they become more boring, actually.
Correct.
So like I
Because you know
tweeted,
what's next.
yeah, I'm bored till 14 cents because that's when I'm buying next.
Right.
Like it's just teasing me, you know, like Britney Spears in the 90s. It's just teasing me.
Dude, you know who my crush was? It was Winnie off the Wonder Years, dude. You ever watch the Wonder Years, man?
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, Winnie was my jam. Like I could sing that song to her right now. Karaoke. Oh, Las Vegas, here we come.
I
got you.
actually remember there's one episode where there was a rumor in the school where him and Winnie had hooked up.
Yeah.
Right. And he was really upset. And he rides his bike over to her house. She opens the door and she's like, well, what are you waiting for? You know, blah, 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 blah. And right when she said that, the signal cut out where we lived. And
No!
I was traumatized. I was like,
No!
what happened? What happened?
God, what a
I
great
remember
show
the
that
Wonder
was,
Years.
man. What a great freaking show.
Yeah, they revamped it. It's back.
Cool.
And I've heard a lot of people really enjoy it. It's on Netflix, I believe. But yeah, the Wonder Years. Shoot, that's crazy.
Dude, so what do you think? What's going on, man? What's going on with Hex right now?
Everyone, the whales are having their way.
Mm-hmm.
The whales are smacking us around and bullying us because those fees actually affect the little guy.
Mm-hmm.
Because it used to be like some big whale would try smacking the price down with a, you know, $500,000 sell, and there'd be 100 little minnows eating it up all at the same time. And so it just didn't stay down. Where right now the minnows can't afford the ETH fees.
Right.
There's no meat left on the bone.
Yeah.
Because of the ETH fees. And so that's why these whales are having their way. And I think the whales want to push everyone out of Hex so that they get the copy on the snapshot. That's my theory.
Yeah, and it makes sense. That's a very valid theory. Very, very valid. They're cycling through, they're clearing out the order book. They're making the new people, the scared people, the frightened people give their bags up at a very cheap price. That's a very valid way to put it. And I will also talk about this. Tell me what you think about this. I was thinking today in terms of game theory. If we had Hex pumping right now, and let's say we were at 70 or 80 cents, right? The question becomes, when Pulsechain finally gets announced or launches, would people be more apt to early in stake at 70 or 80 cents than they would at 10 cents, for example?
Of
And
course
in my
they would,
opinion,
because it would be worth it to them.
It would be
take
worth
the
it
money
at
in hand.
70 or 80, but it's not worth it at 10.
Mm-hmm.
So in my mind, I'm like, okay, well, maybe this was the play. Maybe this was the play to discourage people from doing stupid types of things to the price. And we have to remember that it's not just the OAs here. It is whales, and it's also whales who actually have people's, you know, they want to make sure they look out for the people that are involved in Hex as well. They're in Telegram groups. They're talking to each other, people with really, really big bags, and they're probably coordinating as well. So there's a lot of theories floating out there, but one thing is for sure. If this is a purposeful game against speculators, then we can be pretty certain that it's going to have a positive effect when the news finally does come out, because the price will be low. We have now cleared the order book out from 50, what is it, 50 cents, 55, 50, all the way down. There's going to be clear air. If we get good news, people start buying in, there's going to be a lot of clear air for the hex price to pump.
Yeah, and not only that, but if the price were up around 80 cents and you got your copy, psychologically, a lot of people are going to value both coins at 40 cents.
Right.
Because they'll think there's 80 cents of value in this token. Now it's split, so there must be 40 cents of value in each. That's the way most people would think rationally or value it. Whereas if you see it drop from 50 cents down to 10 cents, you're thinking, oh, well, wait a second. Like, the next one's probably worth 10 more cents because we've seen it at 50.
Yeah.
So you're more likely to double the value at a lower price point than a higher price point.
I completely agree. Completely agree. It'll be interesting. Like, in my mind, let me ask you this: how do you see price on both chains when it actually does launch for Hex? How do you see price?
Well, Ethereum, until Ethereum copies Pulse, it's going to be a squids and up game.
Mm-hmm.
Squids and above can stomach the fees.
Mm-hmm.
The turtles and below are having a rough time right now, especially at the price point.
Right.
So you have this big group of all the small sea creatures jumping onto Pulse and pushing it. And then you got the whales that are also going to grab their chunk of Pulse Hex, right? And so I think that the eHex drops initially,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the fees and stuff. And then I see Ethereum copying the code of Pulse, just like Tron copied the code of ETH.
Right.
And then calling it 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
But they're not going to be able to convert regular ETH to 2.0. The same way that Pulse has to fork ETH.
Right.
ETH is going to have to fork ETH 2.0. Now, whether they're generous and give a full system state of our ETH, our Hex on both ETH chains is yet to be seen. But I would assume they'd almost have to, right?
Yeah, I mean
not have to, but that's what value are they bringing to the new chain? And if they see Pulse crazy, like their Pulse's crazy success at the system state, then everyone's going to copy the system state after that, I believe.
And it's going to follow a path of least resistance, and I think that, and this will kind of play into it too, kind of what you said. We got to figure out what the liquidity is going to look like on both chains as well when it first launches. I'll be interested to see that. What type of supply are we playing with? I know that there's going to be bots and automated market makers making the market this and that, but how much is going to be available to be able to be made in the market without putting up too much resistance on the Pulse side? I've said that I think there's going to be a big play on Ethereum side because everybody's so hyped about Pulse. Even though it could be much more expensive in terms of gas fees, it might be worth it if you see Ethereum Hex 50% or maybe 100 to 300% less than maybe what the Pulse side might be. So I am leaving some money just in case. I'm leaving some dry powder just in case on the Ethereum side. Plus, I'm getting my stakes. I'm getting everything copied over regardless, so I don't really have much to worry about there. What's your play? What do you think your play is going to be?
It's to buy everything that's on sale.
Yeah,
I've got everyone trying to act, or everyone's trying to time the market.
mm-hmm.
You know, everyone says, "What day am I going to buy Pulse?" And I'm like, I have no idea when Pulse is going to be on sale.
Right.
You know, I have no idea when the ETH hex is going to dip, and I have no idea when the Pulse hex is going to dip. I have like, you can look at history and kind of guess what's going to rhyme, but that's it.
Yeah, it's
And
all about time. It's time in the market and not timing the market. How
yeah,
much
yeah,
exposure do you have and for how long? That's really what matters in this game.
yeah. And I believe the first year of Pulse you're going to have so much crazy volatility on all these chains going up and down and trying to find their market and their
Mhm,
value that I've told everyone, break your neck at your job.
mhm.
You and your spouse, if you have one, do overtime, do extra shifts, go mow your neighbor's lawn, whatever it takes to get as much cash in your hand to DCA into Pulse and the hexes during the first year, because
Yep.
you're going to have opportunities presented where things are going to be on sale in a way that they're probably not going to be on sale once things quote unquote level off, whatever that looks, in
Yeah.
crypto, leveling off is 20% dips instead of 90% dips, right?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think? So what do you think some other ERC tokens that will do well on the Pulse chain? If somebody could dump their money somewhere else, where would they dump it?
I think a lot of that depends on admin keys,
Go
because
ahead.
people are going to get coins on this new chain and they're going to find out that they don't own the coins.
Well, because they'll turn them off.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that USDC is not your coin. It's
Right.
your coin as long as USDC lets it be your coin.
Do you think they're going to do that? I mean, wouldn't they have to do that because it's not pegged by an asset?
It's going to reveal a lot of people that are not solvent, I
Yeah.
think, and a lot of people that never wanted to give decentralization to their users.
So let me just kind of explain this, and feel free to interrupt me if because it sounds like you have a galaxy brain and I'm just a pleb here. So essentially what happens with with some of these coins, there's admin keys, which means somebody has control over in some way how that operates in your wallet. If we copy over USDC, for example, if you get a copy of your USDC in your Ethereum wallet on the Pulse chain, the question is, are the USDC folks, are they going to allow that to happen? USDC is a stable coin and it's not pegged by dollar, I don't think. I think it's actually pegged by asset across many asset classes, real estate, etc. So they would effectively have to have double the amount that they did the day before it forks. Am I correct in saying that?
I believe that is how it works. Yeah, as I understand it, that is right, because following the whole Tether thing, uh, Tether is not to this day proved that they're solvent or backed.
Right.
They've shown some people some of their Bitcoin backing their Tether,
Yeah.
but they use that Tether to buy more Bitcoin,
Right.
to back their Tether, to buy more Bitcoin, to back their, repeat it over and over again. Right. So they're
Yeah.
practicing fractional reserve cryptoing.
So folks, be careful. I mean, be careful. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but you need to think long and hard. If you're holding USDC now, is it more worth it to you to hold USDC and have it copied over, but having it be invalidated when it copies? Or should you take that USDC and put it into something that you know will have value? So it's kind of a gamble. It's a risk in a little bit of a way.
It is a gamble.
But I think some of the admin keys are not going to be able to function on Pulse, because if you think about an ERC20 token on Ethereum right now,
Mhm.
it only has to function as well as Ethereum functions,
Right.
right? That if you had like your users go up dramatically, then you might have some problems with your code that you don't have currently.
Right.
So
That
I think
makes sense.
you're going to have some ERC20s that go over to Pulse, and now Pulse is able to handle a lot more of the NFTs, of the video game tokens, of all this crazy stuff people have thrown at Ethereum.
Yeah, I'm trying to, in my head, I'm trying to figure that out in my head, just thinking about it. So it's kind of like Ethereum and it's kind of like Pulse. Those are the internet pipes to your house, and the house is the actual projects or the chain, right? So we're going to
Right.
upgrade the pipe. The house is going to stay the same, but what happens when you get you get more volume into the house.
That's a great analogy. Because
Right.
like you said, let's say that you've got two ISPs or two internet providers going to your house, and you have one old house where all they do is read the news and send emails.
You got
And then you
mail.
have another house that's streaming Netflix, and you have another house that's gaming, like
Yeah.
hardcore, and streaming on Twitch.
Yep.
Those are three drastically different uses of the internet, or of that pipe, as you said.
What's the bandwidth from the wireless access point inside the house? I mean, is it going to be able to feed all that? So that's a good point. Now, I'd have to really dig into it and kind of see what actual mechanisms could be broken. And that's an interesting little video that I could do just off the top of my head. So, but yeah, there's a lot that I don't know. I wish I was a developer so I understood the fine details a lot more. But
Right.
it just kind of makes sense, I think.
And that's really someone I'd like, David Feeder is someone I need to sit down with if I can get a hold of him. And
I
because
don't know who that is. Who is that?
He is he's a fellow ginger. So he's
Hell
probably really offended that you don't go to the same ginger meetings.
Listen, no, we're telepathically connected. So he just heard me apologize.
That's awesome. So David Feeder is a coder he gave the first really heartwarming testimonial. He paid off all this student loan debt that was crippling him with Hex, and he did this amazing testimonial that got everyone all weepy-eyed, myself included.
Yeah, nice.
He's like, "Thank you, Richard Hart. You've changed my life, truly and forever. And I get to spend more time with my family. I get to take this weight off my shoulders." But he's a coder, and he's the one that's been giving really good updates on the Pulsechain, because Pulsechain will be like, "Hey, we validated X nodes on the something flex capacitor."
Right.
And me and the other hexagons are like, "That sounds good, but we have no idea what it means." So he'll sit down and be like, "Oh, this is what it means as far as development of the code and launch. Like, this is the stuff you guys want to know." And so, yeah, David Feeder, I'm going to try to reach out and get a hold of him and sit down and have him do the baby talk to me and say, "Okay, this is what we're looking at."
I've got a lot of questions, man. Like, if I could field a question, the question would be, why are we able to do things so much better than Ethereum? Is it because you paid the right brains to figure it out? Is it because the answer was already always out there, but Ethereum was too big to turn the ship in such a short amount of time? Like, how come we're able to execute better than Ethereum right now and deliver a better product with the amount of resources that Ethereum has and the ability to change things? So there's a lot of different directions you could go with that, a lot of different reasons. But in 3 or 4 years, are we going to have the same problems as Ethereum, even though we're faster? Because you got to think everything scales up. The technology might be ahead now, but things might catch up later. So I'm curious about those types of things.
Yeah, that's a really good question to throw out there. In fact, we should just sit here and interview David Feeder without him here. We should just throw out like 45 questions and wait for the response.
Well, he's responding to me right now.
Right. Telepathically, he's feeding your brain as we speak. It's like the Borg.
Yeah. So, dude, you're speaking my language. Now I know why you like my memes so much. Now I get it.
No, the memes are important. Memes are much more important. If you don't have a sense of humor, first of all, I feel sorry for you, because that sounds like a miserable existence. But second of all, we get so hyped up and so out in the weeds and so anxious about all this stuff coming out, when it's going to come out, because it's tied to money, it's tied to our identity, it's tied to everything, emotions, dopamine, cortisol, fear, greed, all this stuff. You really need that little reset button, that little, like when you guys had the "Let's Go Brandon" meme at the end of I was dying, but you need that little reset, that little breath of, hey, you don't have to take all this stuff so seriously.
You're right. You're 100% right. And I've said this a couple times. I've said this with different charts from the past, Facebook and Amazon and Bitcoin, whatever. The only thing that you have to do to win in this game, the only thing, is to not nuke your account. This is a long game. This is 5 years. This is 10 years. This is 15 years. This is 20 years. All right. Look at any chart in the past. And if all you did was not lose your money and all you did was DCA in and use a little bit of proper risk management, you're going to win.
Perfect.
And that's hard for people to come by. And you have to really outline, you gotta keep things light. You gotta make sure that people know that it's going to be okay. Then you have to outline what it looks like in traditional finance too. What's it look like in traditional finance? It's absolutely insane. You're going to have somebody that works 30 years of their life to maybe, after their principal is all said and done, maybe they 2 to 5x their money after 30 years. That's absolutely insane. So people get upset in cryptocurrency when it's not happening fast enough. And it's like, guys, we got to teach people. We got to teach people what's possible. We got to teach people how to do it and just tell them not to blow up their accounts. Don't do margin trading. Don't give money away to people that you think aren't smarter than you are. And really, all the knowledge that you need is online anyway. You don't really need to pay anybody to do anything. Keep it light, man, and have a simple message. And that's what's helped me quite a bit.
That's a really genius formula. It seems simple. It seems like there's not enough to it, but
That's all it is.
I think that's a genius formula.
Yeah. You think about, I did a video and you hear about the guy who mined, 200,000-300,000 Bitcoin and that computer's in a landfill somewhere. And he's got a bunch of guys that are searching in that landfill for that hard drive, like 40 hours a week. Why? Well, he forgot about it. It ended up in a landfill, which is a really big hedge of protection. So he couldn't sell it himself because Lord knows he would have. But if all he did was able to lock that up and forget about it, and it wasn't in the landfill, he'd be good now. All he had to do is survive. Just hang on and not nuke your account. That's it. Everybody can play that game.
Right. And I guess the second best thing to guess for is that they nuke it early and learn early.
Well,
because like you said, everyone sold Bitcoin at 10 cents. They thought they were a genius. Everyone that sold it $1, $100, the people that sold it $1,000 thought they were geniuses.
yeah, the
right?
market is like Confucius. The market will teach you the lesson that you need to learn, whether it's a good lesson or a bad lesson. And I'm thankful that I got humbled by the market. Otherwise, I'd be in a lot different position. I'm thankful I listened to the market because it will wreck you. It will expose your flaws and it will exploit your flaws. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And if I can confess to you,
confession is good for the soul.
Mistakes that I've made since being an OG hexican, where I did go after the HXY. I put a bunch of hex into that in the beginning because the returns that he promised were so good, right? And I lost a bunch of hex there. And that was a very, very painful and expensive lesson.
And you're normal. And you got the balls to admit it. And 90% of the people who did the same thing online, these influencers, they won't admit it. I'm not calling anybody out in particular, but hey, like they're not any better than we are. They do the same thing, but you needed to know that. And because you learned that lesson, you're better off now.
Yeah. And another thing that very few people, I've admitted this to, are I took 3% of my profits I made in hex and I put it in one of the hex copycats because there were these snowflakes, these social justice warriors, and they said, hex isn't fair because Richard gets all the money. And I didn't agree with them, but I thought, well, what if they strike a chord with a whole bunch of rich snowflakes? And what if this blows up or does half of what hex did? So my greed, I took a little bit, I put it in there, and guess what? Snowflakes don't have any money. It just basically flatlined on me, and I watched the rest of my hex just make stupid, absurd gains.
Yeah, we have about 650, 700 people in my Telegram group, and I interact very closely with these folks. And here's what I know about human nature. I'm not going to be able to stop somebody from trying to chase something shiny. All right. What I can do and what I feel comfortable talking to people about is if you're going to chase something shiny, remember, you don't have to put your whole portfolio into it. If it's 1 to 3% and it hits, then you're good and you didn't blow your account up. So I'm not even against people taking profit and finding ways to do things. But if something's working for you, you better not screw yourself. You better not shoot yourself in the foot. In proper risk management, high risk, high reward, low percentage of your portfolio, and put it in. because if it hits, you're going to be great.
Another piece of wisdom I would send out there to all the people that are still, you know, in the hustle and trying to like get their stacks up is in 2 years, you're going to have more money than you ever thought was possible. If you just don't nuke your stack in 2 years, I believe you're going to have more money than you thought could even exist in your little town that you live in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And at that time, you are going to have money problems. And those will be the money problems of having too much money.
Right.
And I would suggest right now, get a hold of someone who has too much money and start asking them questions and start lining up your ducks and getting everything in place, following Richard Hart and getting in and not nuking my account. That I spend hours every day doing paperwork, getting a hold of the professionals that you got to get a hold of to keep the government from drinking your milkshake, so to speak.
I drink your milkshake. I drink it up.
Because you can't show up anywhere with $1,000 anymore without answering a bunch of questions.
Dude,
these
you're
days.
the more you sweat in peace, the less you bleed in war, man. And that's what you're doing right now.
I wish I had started on that earlier. That's what
Yeah.
that's the message I would send to people right now, that they're looking at their stack and they're like, oh, you know, I don't have enough to flex. I don't have enough to switch jobs or become a really famous, gorgeous YouTuber like ourselves.
Right.
You know, I don't have
more
the looks.
more specifically you rather than myself.
Right. No, but seriously, they're looking at me and people are that I've joined. They're like, oh yeah, but I'm not. You know, I want to be where you're at, and I'm like, you will.
Yeah,
Definitely. I've helped you lock your stakes, so I know what you have, and in 2 years, you're not going to believe what you had.
Yeah,
It's going to blow your mind.
Your mind's been blown countless times.
And so, to those people, like I said, I wish I'd started earlier and started reading up on corporations and LLCs and watching a couple 5-minute YouTube videos about how to find the right accountant.
it is. And you remember how we were talking about at the beginning of this conversation, like as you go down a path, you forget the simple things. You forget the things in the past. You brought up talking about you need to grind. You need to find a way to make money. You need to just, you and your wife, your friends, your family, your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad, make money, DCA in, get an opportunity here. And I forgot that was a message that I was giving my folks a while back. And that needs to be a message I need to reinvigorate. And I appreciate you bringing that up. I'll ask you this. What is the absolute best time to get into any investment? And let's just take Pulsechain, for example, or let's take Bitcoin. When's the best time? The best time to get in any investment with the least amount of risk is probably as close to day one or all-time low as possible. That is the absolute best time. With that said, you have to impress upon people that the opportunity is coming very, very quickly, an opportunity that does not come to regular people, to be able to get in on day one, week one, month one, on something that can be absolutely amazing. And the amount of risk that you're going to have compared to 6 years in is markedly decreased on day one, week one, month one. Have to. And well, Brandon, how can you prove that? Literally pull up any crypto chart from the beginning. All right. And it stays there for a while, but eventually the price action never, ever, ever comes back. On any major project that you pull up, any Cardanos, any Ethereums, any Bitcoin Cash, fork of Bitcoin, massive amounts of value. Who would have thought it? And Bitcoin Cash ran like crazy last cycle. Most people forget about that. Make a tremendous amount of money. The best time to do it is day one, week one, month one. Get in. Here's your opportunity. Be prepared. Get ready.
Keep crowing about Ethereum, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Ethereum was 3 cents in the ICO. It launched at $3. It crashed to 15 cents. And then it bounced around $1. And I'm sure that people at that time were looking at it going, I missed the 3 cents and I missed the 15 cents. So it's time to hunt for another investment, right?
Right.
I got to find another low, juicy alt, right? But they didn't. They could have DCA'd that whole first year of Ethereum.
I know. And The other big problem that I've found with the new people in my group is they invest more money than they can actually handle to invest. So now there's a whole different emotion attached to that money. It's literally life or death for them at that point.
Yes.
And that's the first lesson that I teach these folks is just a little bit consistently is all you need. Don't go crazy.
I tell people, if you need this money for the next 2 years for food, utilities, rent, emergencies, like if this is your $1,000 in case the transmission goes out on your minivan,
Yeah.
you don't put this into crypto.
Nope.
You don't put it, well, you don't put it into anything.
Yeah.
Except for maybe paying off a credit card.
Well, what do I do, Max? How do I get money, Max? How am I going to do this?
You either grind or like, it's amazing the amount of people that I've talked to in the last year where they come to me and they say, I don't have any money to invest. I want to do what you're doing, but I don't have any money to invest.
You don't need money, do you? You need time.
I tell them, get a piece of paper, a notebook, and a pencil, carry it around for 1 week. 1 month's better, but 1 week works. Write down every penny you spend everywhere. Do that for 1 week, and you'll look at where you're putting your money, how much you're making, and you'll find tons of money that you had no idea you were blowing.
Absolutely.
On stupid stuff. You'll also find out that you think that some of your bills are much higher than they really are.
Yeah.
You'll think you're spending a bunch on insurance or a car payment. You're really not.
Yeah.
That's just what your brain's telling you.
There's just like, if somebody tells me that they don't have the money, I'm like, okay, you don't have money. That's fine. You have time. Well, what do you mean by that, Brandon? Well, thank God we have Uber. Thank God we have DoorDash. Thank God we have Grubhub. Thank God you can go clean somebody's house or mow somebody's lawn. Well, Brandon, I'm just tired at the end of my day. It's a sacrifice. You didn't do the things that you need to do up until this point, or you fell into some hard times and you're not where you need to be right now, but you're going to have to grind to make up for it. When I was first trying to find money to invest in crypto, because I didn't have a very high paying job at the time, I remember specifically going on Craigslist.com, and this is probably a technique people can use. I would go to the electronics section, all right, and I would find electronics, and I would literally shoot out 50 emails a night, lowballing the prices that they gave me by at least 30 to 70%. You know what I found? Out of every 50 emails that I sent out, I would get about 3 to 5 people willing to sell me that item. Well, Brandon, that's great. You have it 70% off. Well, what do you do now? Download your eBay app, sort by sold items, find your item, sell it on eBay. That quick. They print it. They print the label out for you. You just put it in a box and all of a sudden it's like a Narnia. Money ends up in your account somehow. You could do that over and over and over and over again. You could flip stuff. You can go to the free section of Craigslist and pick a table up and then sell it for $15. Take a picture and sell it. You got a smartphone. So many things you can do.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's gold.
Opportunities. Yeah, everywhere. Opportunities. Lead a horse to water. We're here. I think you and I we are I just feel obligated. I know that the only way to scale my message, the best way to scale my message is through the internet. So that's why we're here.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of someone besides maybe like Richard Hart that heard about Bitcoin once and bought it? I haven't. Like personally, everybody I've met that's ever bought Bitcoin heard about it 2 or 3 times before they took action and actually figured out what it was and how to buy it. Even the guys that bought it on Mount Gox heard about it a couple times before then. So when I reach out to somebody and I say, hey, there's a thing called Hex and it pays you interest every day, and in a few years your life could be way better, and they don't take action, I say to myself, okay, I'm number one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the first time that they're going to put that in their head and think, oh, okay, yeah, I've heard of Hex. And a year later, when someone else says, hey, I just bought this whatever with Hex, or have you heard of Hex? It's at $1. They're going to go, oh, wait, what? It's $1 now? And then a couple of years later, someone might say, did we just hit $5 or $10? And at that point, they're going to take, but at least I planted that little seed.
7 touches, right? I mean, it's just like marketing 101. Humans aren't going to make a decision based on the first piece of data input. It's going to take a billboard that they see. It's going to take the radio ad that they hear 3 days later. It's going to take that little sign in the front yard. Hey, so-and-so just serviced my house. It's going to take 5 or 6 or 7 different times for somebody to finally make a decision. Now, the high IQ people, they'll find out about it. They'll research it, and it only takes once for them. I'm not one of those people. It took me a long time to get on board with Richard Hart. All right. It took me a long time because I'm a salesperson, and I could see some things that put up red flags for me, but I made the effort to go ahead and start verifying things. Everything checked out. The code checked out, the audits checked out, the economics, the tokenomics, even things he says about how money circulates and moves through the world. All that stuff checked out. So, and I met a lot of hexicans that are way, way smarter than I am. And it's, you know, especially like the president, right? They surround themselves with people who are a lot smarter than they are. And that's how I want to surround myself with those folks. And in my mind, I'm like, well, if he can convince that really, 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 really smart person that this is a good investment, that gives me a lot more confidence on top of my own research.
I have a family member, I'm not going to mention who they are, but they're an idiot. I think they have some serious mental disabilities, and they are stupid rich in hex.
They're going to have emotional disabilities after this video, by the way.
No, because I would reach out to this person,
yeah,
and I would say, buy Bitcoin. And they would say, okay. And they would buy Bitcoin. They would just do whatever I told them to do. Thank goodness I'm not a psychopath, but they would just follow every step. And I say, okay, now sacrifice for Pulse. Now do this. Now stake this for 5555. Blah, 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 blah. And they are incredibly wealthy. They're very simple.
Yeah.
And then I talk to geniuses that are on the level of Richard Hart.
I'm flattered, by the way. Thank you very much.
About hex. They jump in, and the next time I talk to them, they're like, what do you think of this ladder strategy? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? They're like, oh yeah. I watched all the tutorials. I set up my ladder, blah, 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 blah. I just need to know how much to allocate for the first, for the sacrifice versus the first dip. And I'm like, oh, that's amazing. Everyone in the middle. Yeah, I'll think about it. Looks a lot like an MLM. Yeah. Oh, I bought a bunch of Doge today. I bought a bunch of blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're too smart for your own good.
Yeah.
I wish you were an idiot or a genius and I would have you wrapped in. But now that I know that giant curve in the middle of people just needs 7 touches, it motivates me to just continue putting it out there and being one of those touches. So thank you very much for that. That really gives me a lot of hope and motivation.
Dude, yeah, keep going, man. Do not stop, no matter what. I put out some horrible videos, man. If you go back and look.
I don't think you're supposed to say that as a YouTuber.
Dude, y'all can go back and check out my horrible videos. In fact, I want you to, so that way maybe you will unsubscribe finally. But I was grasping for straws there, but it comes together, man. I did a couple videos and it hit. I will encourage anybody strongly to start a YouTube channel about this type of stuff, because it's going to scale better than anything that you could do on your own in a 24-hour period, by far. And if you want people to know about this, set up a YouTube channel, archive your videos, make about 5 or 10 videos, just simple type stuff, onboard people, send them to your YouTube channel. It's a very cumulative, complex effect that happens over time, and the YouTube algorithms pick it up. Things like Hex, things like Pulse, things like cryptocurrency, whatever other project that you're in, talk about it. It's totally worth it. And the other thing that people don't think about is, investing early in crypto is nice, but you know what else is pretty nice is investing in a media outlet about crypto. And that's what we're doing here. We're starting YouTube channels about brand new chains. This will scale very well as well. A very large audience can be had. And if you're saying the right things, you can help a lot of people. You never know what's going to go viral.
Right.
You never know what somebody's going to hear or how it's going to change their mind about something, the butterfly effect in full effect. You just never know.
Yeah. And in a year or two from now, when a whole bunch of people are seeing some crazy Super Bowl ad, or they get their 7th touch, and this big wave of people comes in, they're going to go to YouTube and they're going to search Hex. They're going to search Pulse. And this video of ours that may get a couple thousand views right now, it might get like 10,000 views in 1 month when it hits. We just don't know when that's going to be.
Because 7 million people are going to get their seventh touch all at the same time. You know, what percentage of that converts? It's a big numbers game, man. I will be I don't have any, here's the thing that makes me be able to sleep at night. I don't have expectations about my YouTube channel. I have expectations about helping as many folks as I can. It sounds cliche. Everybody says, I want to help people, this and that, blah, 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 blah. But I really feel that way. I really live that. Whatever happens, happens. If I crash and burn, if my YouTube goes away, whatever, I feel like I did my job because I put in a lot of hard work. I'll talk to anybody I need to talk to. I'll do whatever I need to do to help folks. And this is just the best way that I've ever seen in my entire life to do that. The best way. So I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped for you. I'm pumped for everybody.
Everyone always talks about how special hexicans are, but they really are. I've met so many people that are truly altruistic, that truly do want to help as many people as possible because they feel this almost guilty by the amount of blessings or improvement of their lives, that if they don't pay it forward, they're not going to be able to live with themselves.
Well, it's a horrible secret to hold. It's like, I've got all this money. I'm not going to tell anybody how to help themselves. I'm not going to tell anybody how I arrived at this destination. It can't be good to hold inside. You want to spread that word, man. Absolutely. And you're doing a damn good job of it. Sounds like. I am going to get with you and talk to you about that. It should be some type of like template, you know, that other influencers and just other people who are watching this video can pick up and go start talking to people in their communities. Because the internet isn't the only thing that's going on, and not everybody wants to put themselves on camera. So I love that you're doing that, man.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely always willing to share what works and what has gone up in flames.
Yeah,
What's
absolutely.
been a horrible idea.